Anyway, we can all agree that the blue shell is complete.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Gamescoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining this week is Justin Davis, Brian Altano, and Sam Claiborne.
We are the Omega Cops.
What's that?
Where'd you pull that out from?
That's Gamescoop, and it's an anagram.
No way.
Yeah,
really?
are-
Of Gamescoop
we
is
are-
Omega Cops?
That rules.
Or the Camp Goose.
Oh, that's
Probably
not
Omega
Want to
Cops.
stick with Omega Cops?
Yeah, let's go with that
All
one.
right, I have some more later. It's going to be a real scoop gem.
That's not really. That's
I love anagrams. That's so
Okay.
fun. That's really good.
Omega Cops is the winner. I mean,
Mega Cops is the name of this show in other territories.
And you can put the exclamation point wherever you want.
yeah.
So it can be Omega Cops.
It's the bootleg version you can get down in Chinatown.
Yeah.
We've got a great show for you this week. We got to talk about the Assassin's Creed, the latest Assassin's Creed leak. We're going to talk about the modern gamer, what they look like, smell like, feel like. But first,
Tastes like.
not too long ago on this very show, I posed the question in the wake of the Mass Effect Andromeda debacle, is this the end of Mass Effect?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And if reports today are to be believed, it is the end, at least for now. Kotaku has a story today, reports saying that the Mass Effect series has been put on hold.
Yeah.
And we got a statement from EA that did not refute that news, did not confirm it, but they did say, BioWare Montreal, studio behind Andromeda, has been put on some other projects and lots more good things to come from BioWare in the future.
Yeah, when they don't outright contradict something, that means they're confirming it and trying to spin it. And it's just it's a very common response we get.
They also announced that Montreal, which was a support studio for BioWare, and Andromeda, like that's the part that I think people miss. Like BioWare made this game, but like BioWare is completely different teams in like different countries, like Montreal versus Austin. And Montreal, the team that made Andromeda, this was their first game that they led on their own. They'd been a support studio working on multiplayer and like other features and functions of previous Mass Effect games. And this was their chance to sort of really make it. And there were rumors that they're like fighting between like this new team within BioWare had taken over a franchise that a different team started, and that there was some friction there.
And now they're being moved back onto more of a support role.
They're moving back to a support role, correct?
So it's like, I mean, critically, the game did pretty well, right?
It got sevens.
It got sevens.
Game's like a 7.
which is
getting
okay.
better.
Yeah, it's getting better.
But
But
updates post.
I hope it's getting better.
Well, I mean,
I'm
they're
waiting till
solving
it's
some
the
issues.
final version to play.
They're slowly patching.
I think the main issue was that sales-wise, I don't think it's going to be nearly as long tail as some of the other games are. And I think that it sort of happenstance dropped in an era of the year where it was incredibly crowded.
That game is a 7.
Yeah.
And you're going up against Zelda and Horizon Zero Dawn and Persona 5 and Nier. And
that was the thing. I was playing all those games, and to pull me away from any of those things or all of those things, I needed something to be like substantially new and wonderful and great. And for this to sort of be like as they do with a lot of like sort of series soft reboots or whatever this was, they had to kind of nail the idea that this should be the Mass Effect game that I've been missing or that I didn't get into last time. And it was hard to pull me away from Zelda and Horizon for that.
I remember thinking about the spring and thinking, man, all those games are going to have to get out of the way of Mass Effect.
Yep.
It's tough. It's not too surprising for me because there's been 4 Mass Effect games, and half of them have been mired in controversy.
Yeah.
There's only been 2 that were like really like 2 thumbs up, very well received.
1 and 2, to clarify.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sam, to be fair, like when you were having those conversations, like we hadn't seen more than 5 minutes of Horizon. We thought that Zelda was going to be Skyward Sword 2, or we didn't really know what that's, that game had gotten delayed so many times. Both of those games turned out to be phenomenal. And
No one played the first Nier.
No.
Wow, this game is awesome.
And that game went on to sell 1 million units, so it's like it's fascinating to me. But I mean, sometimes something comes back for a little bit and it's okay, and then it goes away. It was like I grew up watching Beavis and Butthead, and they brought that show back, and like it was different, but it was still kind of the same, and I liked it. And then they didn't renew it, and that was the end of Beavis and Butthead. And that's kind of where I feel Mass Effect is right now. Like they brought it back with a new team, they gave it a shot. It didn't do what it was supposed to do, and now they can
making a Beavis and Butthead game.
I would love that. I wish BioWare did it. I'd actually rather see them.
BioWare's Beavis and Butthead.
I don't
They
expect
had a Sonic game.
They did make a
Dialogue's pretty easy.
I don't expect Mass Effect to be gone forever, for very long. I think there's some studio dynamics at play. Mass Effect or the BioWare team they've been open about how they're working on a new IP. They're working on a new brand, something new. And so you can't just like EA knows that they want to keep Mass Effect going, but what are you supposed to do? Like cancel this other project that's been in the works for years? Like they just have to wait, but they don't trust that Montreal team to work on it anymore based off this Kotaku report.
Yeah.
And so I think they just did the calculus of, well, we don't want Montreal making another Mass Effect, so they need to wait for, maybe that core BioWare team to free up. Maybe they'll do like an Elder Scrolls thing and alternate between, this brand and Mass Effect or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because if you look at EA's output over the last year, which has been really strong, their sports stuff sells really well. Battlefield 1 did really well. But then you look at something like Titanfall and Mass Effect, and they have to be looking at both of those franchises being like, these are huge things. They announced basically that they have long tail plans for Titanfall, but like, what do you do with those?
But then
Sam's just staring at
I'll tell you what you do with them. You sack them, goop.
It's good.
There's only one that has space in it. I was going to use space for this.
You sack
not
them,
good.
goop.
But sack them, goop.
All right.
That's what
Space.
you do.
Game Cop, so.
Or you could have Game Cup.
So Game Cop.
Good work, Damon. You made up your own anagram.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
I feel like Mass Effect.
I am an anagram generator.
I made up over
Perfect.
400 of them.
Mass Effect got 7s, which is not good enough for that franchise,
Yeah.
but it's still good, right? Like,
Sure.
Like on the literal word, it's like it's good. So I think that's a game that a lot of people. I feel like we are 3 months away from people being like, I got Mass Effect Andromeda and I really liked it. Like you're gonna start seeing, you're gonna start seeing those topics on message boards all over the place, especially as like the really bad like crab walking animations and stuff get fixed. Like they're really easy to make fun of stuff. Like it won't fix like the bigger problems with the game, but
that whole story around it was fascinating too, and the fact that like fans were jumping in and fixing the animations before the devs could. Like it was just a weird time, for everything. I mean, again, I think a lot of that came with the fact that there was such scrutiny on that franchise. I think that like when Fallout 4 came out and it had a bunch of wonky shit in it, people were like, it's fine.
Yeah.
They kind of got a free pass for it. But with Mass Effect, people had the magnifying lens out for that thing. They had their blades out ready to cut that thing up.
Do you think there'll still be these meaty DLC packs that series is famous for?
I mean, I forget what their business model was, but did they I'm not in the know on this, but did they sell like a season pass around this with
I don't know.
with promised content? So
There's no way to know.
I didn't play. I don't know if the story. I don't know how the
way of
story. If
finding
there's
out.
room in the story for story DLC, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game that I'm looking forward to playing at some point. Like it's like going to be like a Christmas break game for me, maybe.
There's no way to know is one of my favorite Damonisms.
so you're actually
I think Justin started saying that. I got to give credit to
Justin, you're actually going to try to get to this game at some point this year?
Probably.
Interesting. That's cool. I mean, I'm sure it'll be.
If it's anything like The Witcher, 3 years from now, I'll really want to talk about it a lot
Yeah.
on GameScoop.
Decog Mop.
When people are nostalgic for 2017. Now, it's a little sad to see what's happened to this franchise, because when I started in this industry 11 years ago and I went to my first E3 for IGN, Mass Effect was one of those great hopes, the promises of the next generation that was just getting started, along with stuff like BioShock and Assassin's Creed. When those are like the behind closed doors demos we saw at E3 2006, when everyone was like, oh my God, this next generation is going to be awesome.
You also have to remember.
was.
It was.
How many next-gen games at the time were sort of like 3D open world-ish with action elements and tons of RPG stuff, right?
Yeah.
Few and far between, or at least a few here and there. Now it's every game has RPG stuff in it. So it's
good.
you have to, like, when you want that fix, like there are so many other opportunities to jump in on that, especially, coming up between Horizon and Zelda, which had RPG-ish elements, to an extent.
All right, moving on. The Nielsen organization, the same company you may have heard used to provide your TV ratings. What were the most popular TV shows?
You were in
Like
Nielsen
way back in the
house
day.
once.
What?
Were you really?
IGN was, or you would mean in the actual house, or?
Yeah, they used to. I mean, now I think Nielsen sends a box to people that actually just captures what you're watching, like an electronic box. But we logged. You wrote down what you watched and sent it back to
Wow.
them.
Based on the honor system.
Wait, really?
Honor system.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's
We watched
insane.
PBS all night.
And then
It was
you
a
had to
Family
write
Feud.
down like, were you like actively watching, or did you just like have it on while you were making dinner or whatever? Like anytime the television.
I don't
was
think
on.
you could do something like that in the binge watching era, like to actually tell someone like, "Oh, I watched like 13 episodes of a TV show on Netflix today."
It's a completely flawed system. It
Yeah.
was all, I'm sure it was all made up.
Yep.
Well, they've provided their annual 360 Gamer Report. They do this every year, where they survey a bunch of gamers, and here's their methodology. They surveyed 2,000 people, 13 and over, split 50-50 split between male and female in the U.S. And it's a general population survey, but they asked people about whether or not they were gamers and whether they played games and whatnot. So that's what we're dealing with here. And some of these stats are interesting, and some are eyebrow. Some of them I raise an eyebrow at.
Gasp! I can't.
And this one.
I can't raise one eyebrow.
I can raise
them both
eyebrows independently.
Do one.
I think you guys are all raising one eyebrow pretty effectively.
This is just my face. I'm just sitting here.
Frozen.
First of all, now Nielsen finds that 64% of the U.S. population, 13 and over, are gamers.
Yeah.
Nielsen considers, and so I think they're saying like if someone claims to play mobile games, you're a gamer. You get the title of gamer.
Fair enough.
So
I'm into that.
And what's the percentage?
64%.
Nintendo 64%.
Nintendo 64%. Does that sound high, low? Right about just about right? Low. You think more? You would have thought more than 64% of the 13 and over population in the U.S. plays games.
Yes.
Well, see, that's what it's interesting that IGN has done studies before where we survey gamers, and it's like you ask a question, "Are you a gamer?" No. Do you ever play any video games? And they're like, "Yeah, I play with my family sometimes, and I play 5 hours a week on my phone on the bus and stuff." And it's like, dude, you just said you weren't a gamer. People don't accurately self-identify
because gamer is a crappy label.
Yeah.
Like it's like being called an eater or a movie watcher.
Well, exactly.
But they're not asking people if they think they're gamers.
Right.
They're classifying them as gamers
based off their activity.
So wait, you said the number's low?
Well, I think so because I think the number of people with phones, for instance, is very high, and I can't imagine people with phones now really never using
play
them.
a game.
Well, I think there's first of all, the barrier to entry for something like this is sort of prohibitively expensive to most people. To have a smartphone or a phone capable enough to play a video game and also be 13. I don't have a 13-year-old kid, but if I did, I would be like, you don't really get a phone yet. Maybe I'd be like, you get something else. But I think it's a video game system is expensive, a phone's expensive. It's not just something pen and paper or something tangible, something you can find, something like a book. I'm sure 100% of people have read a book, but
crossword puzzles is a good example.
13-year-olds love a good crossword puzzle.
Everybody loves a good crossword. For 13 and under, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's what the kids are really into.
Getting that new, crack open that New York Times, do your crosswords Sunday morning with
fidget spinner.
Nice hot pot of coffee.
Nielsen finds that the largest group of gamers, 46%, only play on one device, whether that be a console or their PC or their mobile phone. They only do their gaming on one thing.
You know what we call them? They're called fanboys.
Yeah, those mobile.
There's a lot of
phone.
Did I tell you about the Uber I took? He knew this never happens to me because GameScoop's the only show that I'm on. It happens to you two more often. He knew he was an IGN fan. And so we were just talking, and he's just a PlayStation guy, he's a pretty casual gamer, Call of Duty sports games, and he just a new PlayStation comes out, he buys it and gets PlayStation games, and that's his video game life. And I think there's millions of quiet, out of the 40 million or however many PlayStations sold, that's half of them. They're not the crazy people that are in the comments on message boards really hardcore. Yeah. They just I hear there's a new PlayStation. I guess I'll buy the new PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, they go into the store and there's a section dedicated to the games they love, and they pick them up, and if not, they just connect their console to the internet and they buy games through there.
Treated them right, and they have their account with them, and they have no real reason to switch. I think a lot of people get locked into one track, and then you need to
mean though that they still have their Atari. Ooh. Does that count?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if anybody still has
responded.
You're probably the only guy that still has his Atari.
Well, does it count? Everybody bought a PlayStation 2 at some point, probably.
Yeah.
If they still have their PlayStation 2, do they? Is that just their one system?
I would assume it's that they're actively gaming on it.
I think they graduate to the new one.
Well, no, I understand how people work that way, but I'm wondering what this statistic includes.
I also think that there's a significant cost to buying a second console, and we're the odd ones for having everything in our living rooms. That's not typical. Typically,
I never had that growing up. I always had one console, and maybe by the time I got a Genesis, I was old enough to sort that out on my own.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did when I was a kid. I was I got a Super Nintendo for my birthday, but for the Genesis, I saved up for it.
I ran I was an idiot kid, but I ran the most sophisticated math, trying to figure out split up birthday and Christmas to strategize 1 year. I really want a Genesis. It's that'll be both my presents, and then you don't need to give me anything for my birthday. We all pulled those shenanigans.
Yep.
Well, I only had an NES because the Master System was
garbage.
Yeah. But then I got the TurboGrafx 16 before the Super Nintendo, and I was like, So long, Nintendo. I'm moving on to greener pastures. TurboGrafx 16, and then 6 months later, I was like, okay, Super Nintendo. So that's what's gonna be. But then not too long after that, I also had a Sega Genesis as well.
Yeah, so you were all over the place.
But only 16% of gamers play on all three platforms. Only 16% of survey respondents play on console, mobile, and PC. Which that seems kind of low to me.
Oh, so that's not all three consoles. That's just so it could be
saying like these different console, mobile, and PC.
So it could be PS4, PC, and so I wonder what if that could also mean like you have an iPhone, you play a couple of games on Facebook here and there, but then you also have like an Xbox One.
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, or it's just like it's me. Like I play Switch and PC at home, and then I play phone games. When I'm trying to goof off and not work here in the office.
But here's where Nielsen's 360 Gamer Report 2017 gets a little fishy.
All right,
Little hinky.
Fishy.
hinky.
They found that only 77% of gamers, people that have identified as gamers, have heard of the PlayStation 4.
What?
They're like, wait.
Only 77% have
Are they
heard
like,
of
wait,
the PlayStation 4. So that's where I'm like, I'm not sure.
Okay. So
What's the point of calling these people gamers at that point?
wait, so here's the thing. Like, I'm sure everyone has heard the word PlayStation and understand the number 4. So they have to put 2 and 2 together to be like, this is clearly the 4th of the PlayStations.
Based on this data, 23% of gamers have never heard of the PlayStation 4.
I mean, I come back to
You should listen to more GameScoop.
Yeah.
the 100 million people that downloaded Pokemon Go or whatever. Again, like whenever you're talking about surveys like this, I'm picturing my bus where it's full of people that are all either playing Candy Crush or still Pokemon Go. Yeah. Those are the two games I see all day in, day out to this day, like including this morning. Yeah, they count, man. Like they're playing hours of games a week.
But to have never heard of it?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
I don't know about that.
It's just, yeah.
So 77% of gamers have heard of PS4. 72 have heard of Xbox One, so it's not far behind. But Switch and Scorpio, only 29% of survey respondents said they had heard of the Switch, and only 14% said they'd heard of Project Scorpio.
Wow. I mean, that's a actually surprisingly high number for a code name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so.
And I actually think that's good news for Nintendo. It gives them lots of runway, lots of room to grow.
Yeah. I want to meet the people that have never heard of the PS4.
I do too.
And I want them to teach me something that I've never heard of. Like if there's knowledge that I have that I thought everyone had and I was wrong about that, and there's a whole thing that they know about that they're like, you didn't know about this, then I want to know what that thing is.
Ride Justin's bus.
It's true.
Let me know if
Coming over tonight.
Let me know if this surprises you guys. 69% of console gamers prefer physical software, while 75% of PC gamers prefer digital.
Right.
I buy it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Because I mean, where are they buying these games then? I guess they're getting from Amazon? Because I mean, we're seeing physical sales are declining year over year at GameStop.
Well, and I know GameStop's in a tremendous amount of trouble,
still
but there's still thousands.
Walmart and Target. And there's also
insane.
still Walmart and Target, Best Buy.
Yeah, interesting.
And
But
Amazon, yeah.
people, all gamers across all platforms who prefer digital spend more time gaming, even on consoles.
Yeah, you're not switching those discs.
Yeah, like they have more time.
Hundreds of hours a week switching that disc.
They have
You
more
lose the
time to
disc, you
game.
put it in the wrong case.
That's a good-
Terrible life to live.
Yeah, I mean, digital implies you have good broadband internet
Yeah,
access.
of course.
And so many people don't still. That's the scariest thing of all.
And I think digital PC on
Scarier than
digital
spiders.
is like code name
Scarier
for
than
Steam,
spiders.
in my opinion. And Steam's still a fairly hardcore platform.
Codename Steam.
No, not codename Steam. That's a completely different thing.
Abraham
I'm just saying,
Lincoln
If someone's a
steampunk
PC
strategy
gamer
game.
and they prefer digital games, I presume that they're probably a Steam gamer. Which again, it's getting more and more casual every year, but it's still fairly hardcore.
As for factors that influence game purchases, 80% said genre influences them. Makes sense. They buy the games in the genres they like. 74% graphics and 71% said story. So that's the formula for a winning game. A popular genre with great graphics and a cool story.
Easy.
That's all you gotta do.
What about cool podcasts? With handsome hosts.
Yeah, you gotta
It's
have.
neat that graphics still matter that much.
What's up?
I think it's neat that graphics matter that much.
I mean, I've always said. Actually, this is the first time I've ever said this.
It's a TurboGrafx 16. I've been saying.
As long as video games are something you look at, graphics are gonna matter to me.
Totally.
But that means all sorts of things like
it can be pretty.
Yeah, just pretty like Breath
realistic.
of the Wild doesn't look as technically impressive as Horizon Zero Dawn, but both games are very pretty too.
You have
It's got great art
you have
style.
a feature
Yeah.
on IGN about audio-only games.
Yeah.
There's one that's narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, really?
Or it's called, what's it called? I'd like to name drop it. The Nightjar. That's what it's called. And you put on your headphones, and then you're like on a spaceship, and he's like walking you through. He's like, "There's a monster right behind you. You gotta. And then you tap to move forward, and you can like tap to turn. The conceit is that you're in a spaceship where there's absolutely no light at all. It's completely pitch black. And
What
you can,
platform is this?
I have it on my phone on
Okay.
iOS.
And what's it called?
The Nightjar.
Oh, I want to check that out. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy. I don't know how.
Use earbuds, so it's like really stereo based.
Yeah. And like Benedict Cumberbatch, he wasn't as big as he was now, but he'd already been in like, so I'm like, how did you get this guy to do this? He'd already been in like Sherlock.
Is this a couple years old then?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
All right, moving on. We had an image leak from the next Assassin's Creed game this week, and this is what corroborated by 3 independent sources from Eurogamer. And the screenshot that was leaked seems to confirm the Egyptian setting, which was leaked last year.
Yeah.
Lots of leaks for Assassin's Creed. Actually, didn't we
Not a
have?
single pyramid in it. How are we confirming this?
Well, because the quest. Up in the corner says you're trying to find this Egyptian queen. Yeah, it's a known Egyptian, like a real life Egyptian queen.
It is known.
Yeah, it is known.
Then doesn't it also say assassinate a crocodile?
Yeah, that's like the quest
Really?
name.
Yeah.
Assassinate the crocodile. It's the
that-
crocodile.
which rhymes-
Not just a crocodile.
Which rhymes with Nile.
Because as people pointed out, I think we did assassinate a crocodile in Assassin's Creed 4,
Yeah.
but now it's time to take out the crocodile.
4 is so good.
Well, we get the screenshot shows you piloting a
boats?
boat. So we got boats come back.
Man, Egypt, I don't know. There's no tall buildings in Egypt.
There are tall pyramids.
That's what they're like, you're going to climb that Sphinx and that pyramid. And I'm like, yeah, okay, then what?
That's 4.
Yeah, that's 30 seconds of gameplay.
Maybe there'll be really tall trees.
Yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
they'll make stuff
trees.
up.
to be fair, 4 is my second favorite Assassin's Creed, and it wasn't, it de-emphasized the climbing as well, so that's fine.
Right.
Didn't we have a story today that there have been 13 Assassin's Creed games and 12 of them have
everything
been
leaked
leaked ahead of
too,
time
right?
before Ubisoft could announce them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Leaked in quotes.
Well,
Conspiracy.
yeah, there.
Illuminati confirmed.
Well, most of them were like on airplanes too. It's like a guy on an iPad on an airplane, and somebody's.
Oh, yeah.
It's either someone's over the shoulder or someone's like, "Hey, what's that?" And he's like, "It's the new Assassin's Creed game coming to consoles
Wouldn't that
this
be
fall."
great if they did
Oops.
set it up that way, where they're like, all right, listen, you're going to go on the plane and just open this PDF and just leave
And
it
just
there.
like hold it out, see who's looking.
That's what
Yeah.
happened. It was Assassin's Creed 4 that happened to, and there were 2 leaks, and one was a guy just working on a PowerPoint presentation that's like pirate battles, this, that, and then it's like, what are you thinking doing that on an airplane? And then the other one was a guy struck up a conversation with the guy next to him on either the plane or the bus. He's like, "What do you do?" "I make video games." "Oh, I love video games. What are you working on?" "It's the new Assassin's Creed. Here's what it is."
That's funny. Maybe he thought he was one of those Nielsen reporters who's never heard of the PS4.
And we don't know how this one is leaked, right?
It's a
well,
it's
it
a
looks it's
photo
a
taken of
skew-
off-screen
it's
shot.
an off-screen shot from a side. It looks to be in like a boardroom or some sort of
projector.
I
conference
think what
room.
people need to remember.
it's television. It's
what people
television.
need to remember for these games is they are worked on by like 8 different studios globally
like
at the
1,000
Shanghai.
people.
synchronicity. It's
At
insane.
what point during that demo was the person with the camera being like, all right,
This is
what
it.
are we going to
This is
show
it.
them?
This is it.
What is it going to be at? Boat, alligator, check.
Yeah.
And like if they just had turned around, there's like 3 giant pyramids and like a skyscraper.
I know.
An Egyptian skyscraper.
We get the alligator and the shield sword instead. I'm into it.
So I have a few questions for you guys. How Assassin's Creed took the year off last year, except for the movie. How are we feeling about Assassin's Creed these days
I mean, the rumors are great about this one.
in general? You like what you're hearing?
Yeah.
Ready to get back into it?
Yeah, I didn't like. I mean, nobody liked. What was the France one? Unity.
Unity and
So I didn't like-
Syndicate was the
Marty
last
liked
one.
it.
Marty liked it.
He reviewed it.
Unity. Yeah. Syndicate's the one that we liked.
Syndicate. Yeah.
Unity was
You're right,
London,
you're
right?
right.
Yeah, so I didn't like either, and people really like Syndicate, but I was just the formula felt very tired to me by then. I think they did the absolute right thing by taking a year off.
But to be fair, like
Whole year.
none of what we're seeing so far right here, and it's hard to sort of derive a ton from just these screenshots, but none of them really leap out at me as like this is a brand new take on the franchise. Like Breath of the Wild was a brand new take on Zelda. This doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, or maybe like
so
how
far.
the new God of War
Yeah.
looks like a fresh take on that.
totally.
Totally. That's it's a really good example. Like I mean, if it says assassinate an alligator, I'm like, oh well. That's
Again, it's
Assassin's
the alligator.
Yeah, but don't tell me you don't want to do that.
Of course I want to do that. Yeah, no, I spent the weekend in Florida. Kill those things.
I've always described the series, and you're gonna have to bleep this, as same shit, different hats.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they break with that. Well, there's like the colonial hats in the one game. There's pirate hats in the next game. Little pork pie hats, and then I don't need to explain that the same shit, different hats principle. But it really is that game is not changing very much. But everybody likes open world games, and I really like exploration. And man, Egypt sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So hey, if it's a big exploration game in Egypt, that could work.
Yeah, the setting sounds cool. I hope the new character's interesting. They really need to get as far away as possible from the future present day stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying that for a long time. I know most people agree with me. There's a couple people who are like, I like it. And then they made that movie that was like 50% present day stuff. Like, get away from
around
it.
an office
Like,
building.
You know what else they need to get away from? Where you stab a guy in the neck and then you grab and you go Tempest Fusion.
Yeah.
And then you have a long thing and then you come out of it and it's like, nah.
You got to get away from that thing where 9 dudes are chasing you and you just like go to jump and then you land on a wall and they all start climbing up the wall. Like, there's like one button that does 4
Throwing
things.
rocks at you and
I know they've made that a little bit better, but
Yeah.
So I think Metal Gear Solid 5 could influence the series really nicely.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Metal Gear Solid 5.
Me too.
I also think just like GTA, just like really embrace your open worldness. I mean, Assassin's Creed has never really taken as much advantage of being an open world game as it should have, in my opinion.
no, because they have to make a new one every year and there's only so much they can do with that, right?
There's no cars.
I love that idea. And there's no cars. Yeah, there's horses.
Hey, check this out. E3 kicks off 1 month from today.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool.
On that Saturday with EA Play.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there. So I just wonder if Ubisoft is planning this big reveal of the next Assassin's Creed for its E3 press conference, which is still on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're gonna get that. We'll get stuff on a new Far Cry game, hopefully.
I'm making the prediction right here. I think we're going to hear about their Avatar stuff this year. Get excited.
Avatar stuff,
game.
they have that rumored Nintendo Rabbids game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would
Mario.
that be at their conference or Nintendo's?
Well, I think Ubisoft is leading development on it, so I don't know. And then
Steep 2. Steeper.
Still steeping.
Steeper.
That's really good. Do you expect this new Assassin's Creed game will be released this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't take 2 years off.
Yeah.
Without an Assassin's Creed.
I hope they take 2 years off every time after this, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think putting one out every year fatigued us, and take your time.
13 Assassin's Creed games. It's a lot. Does
you
that
mentioned-
include like the 2D ones?
No, but it included the PSP one. We cheated. We said 12 out of 13 in our headline, but that wasn't quite accurate because there was a bunch of weird spin-offy ones.
business,
But
Yeah, there were the DS ones.
yeah.
The
those
card
leak
games
too?
on iOS.
It was the card game on iOS was pretty cool.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Moving on. Last week we concluded our top 100 RPGs of all time.
Yeah.
Everyone was so happy with it. I didn't get any complaints.
Not a
on
single complaint this
social
time.
media.
Perfect list, they called it.
Yep.
NeoGaf loved it.
Just cement it.
I liked the list a lot. I
flawless.
didn't know a lot of those games on it, which made me like it more.
We calculate how many hours it would take to beat all 100 of those games.
That would be a good,
Thousands.
statistic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How old is Steve Butts?
I mean,
It would take that long.
The Witcher 3 is 100. So
There are actually a bunch in the top 10 that I've never played, I hate to say. Of course, Chrono Trigger was number 1. Played that. Played Final Fantasy 6, but I've never played any Baldur's Gate.
oh damn.
Neither.
Are there only 2?
There's Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
I've never played either of them.
2 things there's like remastered, remade editions, not remastered, but just updated and modernized. They're just old, right? So
Yeah.
they did a bunch of quality of life improvements to the menus and stuff in the enhanced editions that are on PC. But those enhanced editions are on mobile.
And they play well on mobile?
I played 1 on mobile and it was fine.
Yeah. It's not too much. It's no trouble to play it on PC.
Yeah, and
They're
they're
turn-based RPGs?
no, they're real-time combat with pause. So they use the actual like Dungeons and Dragons combat system. So I don't know how to explain it.
Was it
a
like
few words.
Divinity where you run around in real time, but when you get battles turn-based?
No, the battles happen in real time, but you can pause whenever you want and like set up action. So it's like you have a party of 6, so you can
like
just
Dragon Age.
Yeah, you can exactly. Well, Dragon Age is a spiritual successor, and it's BioWare. It's the same team. Dragon Age is absolutely deliberately trying to bring Baldur's Gate into the modern age. At least Dragon Age 1. And so the way that I play the game, and you can also set up like pause conditions. Anytime my character gets hit, pause it. So it can kind of feel like a turn-based game if you want. But I like to pause, tell all my characters what to do, unpause, and then they start like moving. And as things start to change and happen, I pause it again.
Hold up.
Yep. But
I know I told you to attack that guy, but
no,
I want you to heal him.
Baldur's Gate 2 in
What's
particular.
the world? It's just D&D?
Yeah, I mean, it's the world of Baldur's Gate, you know. Like, that's the city, and then the world is...
I mean, it's like a fantasy game, right?
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 2 in particular has probably one of the best like just fictional cities in any video game ever. Almost the whole game takes place in this massive sprawling city, and it's probably 200 hours of content, and it's got one of those, it's that special feeling game where it's like there's someone standing on a corner and they're like, I have a quest for you, and then it turns into some like 8-hour ordeal where there's like vampires and betrayals, and like you can totally like walk by it and just never experience any of that. Like, it's such a special game.
So it wasn't your fault, but none of that sounds interesting to me. Like, I would never play that game.
Oh man,
it's not. You know, I think your description was good job. It's just not my type of game.
I mean, I like the pre-rendered isometric art.
I like that too.
I like the. I mean, it's hardcore like D&D, so they didn't have a lot of flexibility and freedom in how to structure their combat because they were using D&D's combat system. But that does mean you have complete freedom, in, like your character class. Like, you can have like a thief mage or like whatever you want. Like, I don't know. Game was great.
Continuing counting down the top 10 backwards, there's Pokemon Yellow, and then there's World of Warcraft, another game I've never played. And I've never played Planescape Torment.
It's the same deal. I mean, it's the same engine, same
As Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, it's another Infinity Engine game. So Planescape Torment is notable for it probably has the best story in a video game ever. I will remove the probably. It's got the best video game story ever written.
So did you play Pokemon Yellow?
Oh yeah, back in the day.
Were you hauling Pikachu around behind you the whole game?
I don't. I was in college. When
Yellow's a weird game. It's like a weird spin-off of, you know.
I think I had a yellow Game Boy Color too.
We got some flack for having it be yellow instead of red or blue. I know they're not completely interchangeable. We kind of think about them as being mostly interchangeable, and yellow is just, you know, a slightly improved version of red or blue in my opinion.
Yeah.
Planescape Torment is another game where like I talked about how Baldur's Gate you'll talk to a random person you can totally blow past and it'll open up a whole quest. Planescape does that, but with conversation. Like in the tutorial dungeon, you can have these long, like spidering conversations with these NPCs that you find that raise interesting philosophical questions and really make you think about things and like the nature of the world. And your character is immortal; he can't die, and that's a game mechanic, but it's also part of the story, and it really delves into what that means and what that's like. And like every single, like you pick up a ring in the game and it has like a paragraph of flavor text about the ring that's actually really interesting and fascinating. Like the sheer volume of text that's worth reading. Like I know it might sound boring, but like
Yeah, it sounds boring.
but like when you're in it and experiencing it, like it's really high quality. Like it's not crappy writing, it's great writing. And
Well, that's what I feel like Mass Effect was at one point.
yeah,
It's the universe, and reading about the universe is like really cool to me.
you have a like just stuff that would have been played for laughs or whatever in other games. Like one of your companion members is a floating talking skull. And like he is like a comedy relief character, but then he's also like, yo, it sucks being a floating talking skull sometimes. So it's like you get into that too. Like, oh man, Planescape.
Well, rounding out the back half of the top 10 was Secret of Mana, Diablo 2, Vagrant Story, which again I've never played,
Me neither.
and Witcher 3,
Yeah.
which I've played some of, not enough though.
Secret of Mana is really interesting. It's a great game.
I love that game.
On the action side of RPGs from that era.
Yeah.
Speaking of Secret of Mana, let's check in with the listeners.
Hi, listeners.
Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com, just like Joe from Queens did.
Cool.
And, you know, when you were a kid growing up in Kansas, the suburbs of Kansas in the 80s, your entire frame of reference for Queens, New York City, is Coming to America.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything comes from that movie.
Anagram for Joe from Queens is Joe's from Queen.
Yep. That's true. That's true.
Got it.
You know who also is from Queens is the Ramones.
Yeah, it's true.
Joe says, I've read
Queens.
that Square Enix is releasing a bundle of RPGs for the Nintendo Switch, including the Secret of Mana and a never released in North America sequel. Being a young kid when those games came out, and Secret of Mana being so high on your recent best RPG list, I would really love to play those games. Any chance this bundle gets released in the US? And what are your thoughts on these games?
Is that true? That's the first I've heard of this.
Well,
It is a bundle. It's a bundle announced for Japan.
Switch.
Okay.
Of the entire like Mana series, whatever
it's coming to
called in
Switch?
Japan. Yes, in Japan.
So
Not announced for the US.
Relax.
because
play it.
playing Japanese games on your Switch is incredibly easy to do.
Super easy.
I don't know about Japanese RPGs that are all in Japanese.
so
You play Disgaea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire collection's been up on the Japanese eShop for a while, and it's fully translated in English. So if you wanted that today, you could get it today. So the way to do that is you create a Japanese account, super easy. You just make an alternate My Nintendo account with a throwaway email address, and you choose your location as Japanese or Japan, and you go in there and you buy eShop credit off of something like, Amazon or something like that. And you drop it in there.
That's how you're saying they're easy to download and play that way. Dame is just saying it might be hard to play because it's in Japanese.
Yeah. So so a lot of the
Apparently, Disgaea has already been translated.
So a lot of the games have, because they're old games, they already have English language options.
This one doesn't.
Are you sure?
Famously doesn't. Yeah. Seiken Densetsu 3 is a fantastic Super Famicom game that has a fan translation.
Got it.
I've played that.
Okay, so what you need to do is download the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
Learn Japanese in its entirety. Super easy.
I'm not sure if it's a loophole on Nintendo's fault that they just didn't think about or didn't catch, or if they're deliberately making it easy to let people, download games in the Japanese store, France store, wherever you
I
want.
think they're just kind of being good guy Nintendo for some things.
Maybe for once.
Yeah, that collection's really amazing because there's a Game Boy game that kicked it off. It was
was that one of the Final Fantasy Adventures, or is that not?
It's what they call it.
It's not. There's Final Fantasy Legends 1 through 3, but I believe that one's based on Final Fantasy Adventure. And again, I didn't do research ahead of this, but I love Secret of Mana. I've read about this a million times and heard about it a lot. But that one on Super Nintendo is like a lost, full-featured JRPG from Square, from that time period.
Yeah, that rules.
And it looks as beautiful as the most beautiful parts of Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger, where there's these lush forests and crazy giant bosses, and it's just incredible. It's incredible we never got that here. It's a 16-bit masterpiece.
It's so cool.
It's exciting to me because I know someday everybody's gonna have access to that game and play it because it's just
Switch is really good for stuff like that too. I got a copy of I Am Setsuna, which is a kind of mid-tier RPG. It never really elevates above what it sets out to do. But playing an RPG on Switch is awesome because you can just kind of grind and then just hit a button, then go do something else and come back. It's really good for pick up and play stuff.
Chrono Trigger's best version was always on DS. It's so good.
Yeah, I'd love that game on Switch.
Yeah.
Do you know if that collection includes because that franchise sort of continued on through the PS1 era?
There's a PS2 game.
Yeah.
The Mana
Legend
game.
of Mana was the one that I played, where the gorgeous painterly art style. I think that's Legend.
Yeah, no, I know it's focused on that series, but I guess I don't know if it includes the later games too. This is Ryan from New York, and he says, "Hey Damon, Justin, Sam, and other human.
Hey, what's up?
Huge fan of the show. It's my favorite podcast each week. Not sure if you like being called a podcast. Sure, that's not offensive in the slightest.
How
we like being called,
dare you?
We like being called as Cog Poem.
But Ryan says, I choose to opt for the audio version because I travel a lot. Thanks for the happiness that you guys bring me. As a kid, I have fond memories of playing licensed games. The few that come to mind are The Simpsons Hit and Run, the 007 games, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, The Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and The Incredibles.
That's a weird list.
Yeah, well, that's why, because I'm picturing a very different set of licensed games.
And then, of course, the many Star Wars games. Today, licensed games seem to be an afterthought, and I don't quite understand why. And when we do see them, they're often not very good. What gives? Why don't we see much of them anymore? Were those games actually bad and my child brain was too easily amused? Or has the quality of licensed games severely diminished with these newer generations? Please discuss.
The answer is mobile. Mobile gets every sort of license tie-in to anything these days. It's incredibly rare to get a full-fledged AAA tie-in to a movie. One, because the cost of making that game is so expensive and the time it takes to make that game is so prohibitively long. And two, because it's what's the benefit of that when you can just have a free-to-play game on mobile and make a bunch of money? We don't have a Star Wars Force Awakens game. We got Lego Star Wars, which was the closest we got, right? But there are a bunch of Star Wars apps on your phone that are mostly free to play. They're made by EA, and you can dump $1 or $1,000 into them if you want to.
Getting some Avatar games.
Yeah.
I mean, licensed games, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, but just they're meant for more casual fans. I'm a big fan of Iron Man. I want to continue interacting with Iron Man, so I'll buy this Iron Man video game. The thinking's usually not too much more sophisticated than that. So that's why mobile makes total sense. Is I'm going to type Iron Man into my phone and just see what pops up versus paying $50 or $60 for a console game.
I have a little bit more negative view of them than that. The reason is because there have always been bad licensed games, and that's because the whole step one of that process is let's capitalize on this popular IP. Step one isn't let's make a great video game.
Well, and here's your development schedule. It's very short.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look at
ET's story,
look at one of the, and he mentioned it, right? One of the greatest licensed games of all time is GoldenEye, and that game came out 2 years after that movie did, and they were like, they didn't say let's cash in on this. They said let's make a really good game, and it got delayed like crazy. So I mean, we could get them. Like I thought it was nuts that we didn't get a single video game based on like The Dark Knight. But there is one on your iPhone, right?
I think there was.
There's also the
was
Arkham
one
series.
for the
Batman
first one.
Begins game.
Batman Begins.
It was a Batman Begins.
So that's what like Batman Begins, and I think the first Iron Man, they did get crappy console games, and like the reason those kind of went, like those games got such a bad rap because they were terrible, and now it's funny that you're seeing them come back a little bit. Like you're seeing Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're seeing
Telltale.
You're seeing Marvel get really serious about video games by sort of smart, strategic partnerships, and I think companies are just finally like it was a simpler time back then. And companies have finally tried to be a little bit more thoughtful about matching up the right brands with the right developers and the right type of game. Like the Mr. Robot license game being made by the what's that game Marty loved so much? The adventure game.
Oxenfree?
Yeah. Made by that Oxenfree group, where it's like that's really smart. And then you hear it and you're like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Well, we've also got this thing happening now where games are services more, right? And you look at something like Marvel Heroes, which gets tie-ins when new movies come out, and that's their sort of way to being like, we've got licensed stuff from Fantastic Four, Battlefront, right? Huge game that covered the original trilogy, but they're like, here's a level based on Jakku. The new game has some stuff from Episode 7, and hopefully we'll have stuff from Episode 8, but it's not a straight up Episode 8 game. Like it's them telling their own story and then folding in some stuff from that universe.
Yeah. No, I think the quality of licensed games has improved greatly over the years. They've gotten smart about it. They've actually they've figured out how to capitalize on the popularity of the license and also make a really good game. Like all the Arkham games, KOTOR, was like one of the first, well, at least one of the first great Star Wars games that I played.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk was a great licensed game in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a new Spider-Man game, right? But it probably will have no connection to the movie outside of like some little details here and there. Like it's not going to be based on the new Marvel
That's
movie.
a difference. It's like borrowing the license, like the beloved thing that someone loves to put their own spin. Like, the Batman Telltale game is not retelling the story of the games.
No.
Like, that just doesn't make sense in
It's
almost
like,
any context.
it's a whole new and it's not telling the story of any of the movies, or it's just a new Batman story, which is cool.
A decade before this year's Logan, we got an R-rated Wolverine game.
Yeah.
That was it got a little. It was like a 7, but it was cool. It was like the first time that I saw Wolverine act as violently as he should from the comics.
Right, and like to be fair,
it was
like
a Hulk game at that time too.
yeah, like we're
I think
Ultimate Destruction was good.
That's what it was.
and we're describing like why this is the way this is now. But I mean, in many ways, like I kind of do miss it. Like I walk out of a movie and I'm like, I want to go home and play that, and I can't. For the most part, so it kind of sucks. Like I miss some licensed games, like there are some really good ones.
Spider-Man was really good.
Yeah, totally.
Oh man, but remember on the NES, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Beetlejuice, TNC Surf Designs, Predator, Rambo, Total Recall, Gremlins, Gilligan's Island, Yo Noid, Cool World, and the list goes on and on. They're all
Cool World?
terrible. Yeah,
That's
from the
right.
movie.
Yeah, there was a Cool
The
World
Brad
game.
Pitt movie.
Well, yeah, there's a young Brad Pitt in that movie for sure. Time for your NES fun fact. I don't know if Justin saw the answer already.
Fun.
Castlevania 3. Who do you play as in Castlevania 3?
Trevor Belmont.
Yep. Except in Japan, what's his name in Japan?
Yo Noid.
Ralph.
Ralph.
Belmont.
Nope. Ralph Belmondo.
What? Ralph Belmondo.
The Japanese version of Castlevania 3, you play as Ralph Belmondo.
So in the end of Castlevania 1, just here, it credits Simon Belmondo.
Yeah.
Which
They didn't even. It also credits the music to James Banana.
what?
That's real.
Yeah, that's
All the people are fake, and Boris Karloff's is.
Well,
another
that's what
credit.
half the are
fake.
are all the credits pun names?
Yeah, they're all just nonsense. They're
Well,
not
but-
even puns.
Half of them are puns off of famous horror franchises. There's-
Boris Karloff is.
Yeah.
I don't know what James Banana is.
that one doesn't make as much sense.
Watch the ending of Castlevania on YouTube. It's so funny. But yeah, Simon Belmondo.
And then find Ralph Belmondo in
Ralph
the Japanese version of
Belmondo.
Castlevania 3.
We got Grant Dynasty was the dagger guy in that game. And Sifa is the other wizard.
Pretty good.
Alucard, which is Dracula backwards, which is an anagram.
It's time to share what we've been playing. Who would like to share
We have
first?
2 weeks to cover, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a long segment.
All right. I'll order pizza.
Yes! It's pizza time.
Yeah, pizza party.
So I mentioned this morning that last night we watched Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
My wife was inspired to watch Howard the Duck for the first time since her childhood because of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wait, what? Really? Oh my
It's
god, that's
the
awesome.
opposite of inspired from watching Howard the Duck.
And so Howard comes from a bizarro planet where, the ducks evolved into humanoid creatures, right?
Mammalian ducks.
But other than that, their society is much like ours. They still live in cities with skyscrapers and they drive cars
They look
and
at
they wear
porn?
clothes. They do. They have pornography and they know about animals from our planet like gorillas and monkeys, dogs, right? So very similar
Yeah.
until while Howard is on our planet, someone says they ordered a pizza and he says, "What's a pizza?"
Dun, 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 dun.
So on their planet, they have everything we have except pizza.
Except for pizza,
Does
which
he
makes
like
no
pizza?
sense.
He scoffs at it because he's focused on trying to get back home.
Maybe
doesn't
he
have
just eats
teeth either.
worms and ponds.
I think you should write somebody.
George Lucas.
I hope someone gets fired for that
says
blunder.
George Lucas presents in big letters, right? at
I
the beginning
rented
of
that movie way more times than I should have when I was a kid.
Oh,
Do you know that like he has sex with a human woman in that movie?
Yeah, they don't.
What?
They don't outright have sex,
Ducks have
but they are
boobs.
they flirt with having sex.
pretty heavily
they get
implied,
pretty
yeah.
physical. There are duck boobs in the
Yep.
beginning of that movie. He
Woo.
has a he has a duck condom in his wallet.
Yep.
Man, that movie is so weird. And my poor grandpa, took me to see that movie in theaters.
Oh,
I'm
really?
Sorry, Grandpa, wherever you are. I'm sorry you had to sit
Basically
through
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Howard the Duck.
Wow.
Anyway, what have we been playing?
Mario Kart. Tons and tons and tons of Mario
I've been
Kart. I've been
playing Mario Kart
traveling a lot, flying to the East Coast and back. I flew cross country 4 times in like 5 days, and I got to play a ton of Mario Kart by myself. And then I was doing a shoot in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with Max Scoville and Mega Ran, the rapper. And one night we were like, we don't know what to do in Florida. Let's get a bottle of booze, go in a hotel room, and just play Mario Kart like crazy. And we had this like brilliant moment where Mega Ran was like, I have my dock, I can plug into the TV. Can we play wireless with each other? And we were like, I think.
how does
And
any
it
of
was
this
like, you can.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't you? So we each had our own screen and we just played 3.5 hours of Grand Prix and battle mode, and it's just so much fun. And I was like one of the people that was like, why would I ever play this game again? And here I am now 25 something hours in and loving it.
Me too. I'm playing a tremendous amount of Mario Kart. Fuck the blue shell. It's gotta go.
That wasn't just added in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
No, but man, like I guess I didn't play that much. 7 was on the 3DS, and I might have skipped that one. Like I know. So here's the deal. I know everybody hates the blue shell to the point that it's become like a meme. Like you hate the blue shell, but we got to talk about that blue shell.
Yeah.
It's gotta go.
You know what I love about that blue shell?
Nothing.
Is when you're in first place and you slow it down just a little bit.
that part's
the
scary.
second place is coming up behind you. You get hit with that blue shell, and second place gets rocked, and you're both screwed, and then you both take off. I love it.
But then
Weird how the blue shell
sometimes,
hits everybody on the way up.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass.
sometimes you slam on the brakes and then still get hit with the blue shell.
And the
then
person just
player
zips
2
past
just zooms by you. No, I mean I did 2. I did all of 50cc, all of 100cc, and I'm working my way through 150. And like I don't have a tremendous amount of time to play video games in my life right now. I'm a father, as you probably
Does this
know.
Switch help with that?
Yeah, it does. But so I did 2 Grand Prix, and I was in first place. I got to get 3 stars, otherwise, what's the point? What are we even doing here if I'm not getting 3
totally
stars?
with you.
So, and I made it to the final lap of the final track, and got hit by a blue shell, and came in second, 2 stars. So then I'm angry, but I do it again, and it happens again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't fun. It's
gotta-
not good game design.
You got to redo
It's-
the whole cup. Yeah.
Let me explain to you the problem with the blue shell. You can't you can't do anything.
Yes, you
when it's
can.
coming. You can slam on the brakes.
No.
There's a counter.
No. If you get the red horn thing, you can
do it right at the
cancel
right
the blue
time.
shell. That's
Yeah,
something they
there's
added
one
in this
counter.
game.
realize that.
You can defeat the blue shell with the red horn. So
right.
get that
Hold
fucking
on to the red
horn,
horn.
and let that blue shell know what's up.
But the big problem I have with the blue shell is if you're in last place, like the lightning bolt feels really good, the bullet feels really good, the star feels really good, but the blue shell doesn't help you. It's just like it's just firing off an FU to someone
Some
that
people save it until they're like in third place and then fire it off.
Yeah, but then that ghost comes and takes it, and all sorts of hijinks.
it's scary. It's scary to hold on to it because of the ghost. That's the biggest sin that I have against it is that when you're in last place, it doesn't feel even really good to use. So it's just everybody's angry.
Yeah.
Speaking of not being fun, I've gotten back into Darkest Dungeon, which is very fun.
The end of that game, though.
And the reason I got back into it is because the PS4 version was just updated with the new Radiant mode, which is a little bit like faster, speedier mode that makes it a lot quicker to get to the final Darkest Dungeon. And that game is super fun. I'm enjoying playing it. However, it has made me realize that there is a long-running video game mechanic that has existed since the beginning of turn-based combat, and I think it's time for it to go because it is also not fun, and that's missing.
Oh.
When you
yeah,
miss,
it's so dumb.
When you miss the enemies, and I feel like it happens a lot in Darkest Dungeon. And it's like, why is this? This keeps happening, and this doesn't make me feel good. It's not
that.
fun. It's like,
Is there
why
a stat
why is
associated with it,
missing?
maybe?
I mean, yeah, but like, why is missing still in video games? Take missing out. However,
Yeah.
I think the enemies should still be able to miss me.
Well, there was a role playing game I was playing recently where like I missed and then the enemy missed and then I missed. I'm like, what are we even doing here? What's the?
Like it's fine in like an action game. That makes sense. But in turn-based combat,
Yeah.
it's just no. I don't-
I should clarify that I am with you. I'm completely adoring Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 48 courses, infinite. It just feels like the jazz soundtrack is so good.
That band has to be getting laid constantly.
Yeah.
That band is
A real
just-
band?
Yeah, that's a real human live band. Yeah, they got a whole
they just had like a composer there.
no, it's like a jazz orchestra, and they're just having tons of sex.
So it is. The game's incredible. So Blue Shell rant aside, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, completely worth it. A fantastic, probably the best Mario Kart, straight up. But yeah, man,
This is that Donkey Kong course from Double Dash.
That one flaw, that fatal flaw.
maybe they'll have DLC.
And they're missing block for it for battle mode, which is, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Why did you even bother? Throw it back in the garbage.
Or like block fart. That's what I used to say.
It's not an anagram.
Sam, are you still playing? Oh no, you were playing something new.
I have been playing Mario Kart as well, but not the Mario Kart you guys have been playing. I played the new arcade Mario Kart. I went to Portland, went to Quarter World, great arcade, and played a lot of this great new Mario Kart. Takes your picture. It's called GP something something something.
Yeah.
Namco made it. It has the Taiko Drum Master guy in it.
It's so cool. Yeah, I played that. Really cool.
Here's what's great about it: no blue shell.
Okay.
Right. Item management is basically if you hit the blocks, you get to fire off an item. You also have some blasts. Other than that, no power sliding. Just stay on the course. Hit the strips. It looks beautiful. And like if there's a little kid playing it, you just sit down next to them and just beat them, and then they have to leave. Yeah. Right. That's the etiquette.
Welcome to the arcade.
Great, cool game. So while
Mustache Man wouldn't let me play the karting game
I took a
anymore.
picture of myself as Rosalina, and it just looked exactly like my hair.
Yep.
So I went to a lot of used game store stuff up there, and I brought back a rare game that I've been playing a lot of, which is Kirby Superstar.
Oh, cool.
Super Deluxe in Japan.
It's the Super Deluxe in Japan. That's a cute name. I've always heard that's the Kirby game. Now, for me, I like a different Kirby game. It's called Kirby's Dream Course, which is a mini golf game. I don't like a lot of other Kirby games. It's not my series. But this game I always heard is the best. And the reason it is, it's like 8 games in one. Pretty interesting. But all the games are like giant Kirby games. There's just a few mini games. And one of them is like an exploration-based, like Metroidvania type thing. You have to explore this huge area for treasures. And the treasures have stuff from Metroid and Earthbound and stuff in it. It's really cool.
Wow, that rules.
Yeah, it's like a good, well thought out game, and it's made by Sakurai and team right before Smash Brothers.
And you bought this on like a physical cart?
Yeah, I just got the cart.
And you're playing on an
I
actual
got a
Super
good
Nintendo?
deal on it. Thanks.
The
Portland.
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it started on my TV in the office.
You were remarking, and I've known this is true because I played. It's what's it called, Superstar?
Yeah, this Kirby Superstar.
Is that what you're? Yeah.
It came out, by the way, in 1996.
That's right before Smash,
Which is like
and Sakurai will
insane.
go on to make Smash. So if you play, everybody played Smash Brothers, but not very many people played this Kirby. And going back, you see I recognize this and this and this and this, all the stuff that
it
they would
feels like
lift
it.
and take over into Smash.
That's how I felt with
the menus feel like Smash.
The menus and then like all that references to Nintendo.
Did you guys play Kirby Air Ride? Like it's not.
yeah.
It's
one
kind of fun.
button
It's
one.
it sort of plays itself. But like the menus and the unlocks in that game are completely Smash Brothers Melee, and like they're around the same time. And you look at it and you're like, oh, I see how all this influenced each other. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a really interesting game.
And the opening splash screen is amazing and looks like a Nintendo 64.
So they tried to make it look as much as they could like a Nintendo 64 game because Nintendo 64 was out.
Right.
It was just out. And then I know you played a little bit of Prey, and I've been playing Prey, and I just think it's dull. It's a cool setting in the beginning, and then it hasn't really hooked me. I'll try to keep playing.
The story is very, very intriguing. But I'm not enjoying the gameplay.
right?
No, I'm probably not going to go back to it. To be fair, I only played, I didn't even get to 2/3 of the weapons because I only played 2 hours. I'm like, I just wasn't feeling it. Life's too short.
Apparently once you get a couple more of these psi powers or whatever in it, it's supposed to be interesting, but it definitely didn't grab me. It's no BioShock for me. I just like the setting of BioShock more than the setting of Prey.
Sure.
Period. So
I didn't give it
very
much of a
similar
fair
games.
shot, to be fair. But the couple hours I did play, I was a little bored.
Yeah.
I do want to check it out. And finally, it is time to play Video Game 20 Questions.
I thought we already played.
And our suggestion this week comes from Chad Lankford.
Where's he from?
He didn't say? So sorry.
get
21
informs.
questions
So
then.
sorry, you're going to have to play without that information.
All right.
We don't know how old he is, or
Let the questioning begin.
Is it Camp Goose? No. You start, Justin. You're good at this.
no, I'm really not.
Yes, you are.
Does your character speak?
Yes.
Ooh, it's not Chrono Trigger.
Good morning, Chrono.
I mean, doesn't your character speak in Zelda?
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Those are words.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah is a word.
You get to choose responses.
Underrated
Yeah.
part of Breath of the Wild, by the way, is that when you're on a horse, the go faster button, it's labeled as "hya" in the the on-screen
rules.
prompt.
I love that. What a
Now
great
we're
game.
all in trouble for talking about Zelda. Thanks for nothing.
Are we not allowed to do that anymore?
Yes, we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Oh,
All right, so your character speaks.
Can you see your hands in this game?
Yes.
So it's 18 questions, everybody. Enjoy. Was this made before 2000?
Before January 1st, 2000. Yeah.
Still January 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
January 2nd.
The answer is no.
Okay.
It's a modern-ish game. Was it before January 1st, January 2nd, 2010?
Yes.
Before?
Before.
So in that 10-year window, which is odd, there were not many games where you had hands and could speak in those days.
Good work,
should be able
guys.
to
That's a
guess
really
right
good
now.
point.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Mario Kart.
Do you want to maybe ask about feet or other sounds?
I think we okay. Now, you guys can ask whatever you want. I'm not going to influence your questions.
Brian's up.
Oh, it's me.
It's a 2000s game.
Is this a console exclusive game, or is this game exclusive to one console?
No.
Oh, it's multi-platform.
Is this of the PlayStation 2 generation?
Yes.
So it's GameCube, PS2,
You always have to get
OG
lucky with that one.
Xbox. Was this game made in Japan?
Yes.
Ooh. So GameCube, PS2, Xbox era
Multi-platform game.
multi-platform Japanese game where you can talk and see your hands.
Ape Escape. No, that was
That
exclusive.
was exclusive. Don't say gosh.
Was this game on GameCube?
Yes.
All right, because that was a much smaller library than the other two, so the Venn diagram.
Oh, that's true.
Pretty good.
Japanese GameCube games.
I'm thinking Beautiful Joe.
Because Damon did hesitate when
Henshin a go-go, baby.
Because that's
Great
why.
speaking.
That's it. Okay, was this game made by Capcom?
Yes.
Did you do
Okay,
it?
I
so
don't think so.
Did Justin give this game a 10
you
out of
guys gotta
10?
remember, Capcom had the games on GameCube.
yes,
Like
of
Capcom
which
5.
one was canceled, one remained exclusive.
None of them did.
What about Piano 3?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Piano 3 was
Resident Evil
GameCube
7
exclusive.
is up for
Resident
four.
Evil.
I mean, sorry.
Okay, so they made Billy Hatcher. No, that was Sega, which that was a GameCube exclusive.
It was Piano 3, Beautiful Joe, and
Killer
Resident
7.
Evil, and Killer 7, and then the fifth one didn't come out.
Killer 7 went to PS.
I got this. Is this one of the Capcom 5?
Yes. That's 10.
Oh my
Is it
god.
great?
Does your character say Henshin a go-go, baby?
I probably can't answer that one.
What? Well, I mean,
Play Beautiful Joe?
It's been a minute.
Okay.
This is Beautiful Joe.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, all right.
There you go. Like, it's Beautiful Joe. Right?
do another one.
You guys
You know
got there really
when you
fast.
beat Resident Evil Remake, they go Henshin a go-go, baby.
Can't answer.
I don't remember that line, but yeah.
I gave,
Says that.
this was way before IGN, obviously. I gave that game a 10 out of 10, and my editor,
Wow.
it was a joke for years.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, and I stood by it. They're
Game
like,
rules, man.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, is it another Beautiful Joe? I'm like, screw you, man.
Yeah,
that
game's
game's
awesome.
dope.
Seriously, it's not like you get Piano 3 at 10 out of 10.
Yeah. That was 2003. Beautiful Joe. It was
Was it really that long ago?
2003. A GameCube timed exclusive.
2003. That was the first year. That must have been one of the very first games I ever reviewed because that was the first year I got paid to write about.
That's why you got shit. It was like, you can't come out the gate with a 10 like that, man. Come on.
They're probably honest.
Work up to that.
You knock a rocket. That game is so good.
Yeah. Your girlfriend's name's Sylvia. She has
They made-
glasses.
They made a few more, and then it went away.
They made,
made-
one more, didn't they?
They made Beautiful Joe 2, and then they made Beautiful Joe Dual Strike or DS or whatever
DS,
it was.
yeah.
I forget the name of it. But it was the first DS game that had 3D on both screens.
Man, what an underrated game franchise because it would use. So it had. I mean, Damon, if you didn't play it, you would.
I did play it. I had the original.
Like the-
I haven't played it since then, since
was-
2003.
What was so brilliant about it is using the speed up, the speed time up, and slow time down, both for combat and for puzzles.
Yeah.
And sometimes doing
Platforming and yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you would use it to like traverse the environment and figure out how, but then also zip back and forth between fast time and slow time.
Remember what game that came out at the exact same time as?
No.
I traded this game in for it after I love Beautiful Joe, and then I beat it, and I traded it in for Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Oh, you're all about that
It was like the
rewind
same
that year.
month.
Yeah.
the rewind was
there.
What a good year.
Yeah, it was cool for GameCube, especially, which was a tough system to own alone, which is the only one I had.
That was the only one I had for a long time.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, as Omega Cops say,
yep.
as cop, me go.